Over the summer, I got really into 2017's Prey. It consumed my life, and between waking up screaming about life support and sniffing glue, I started to look up walkthroughs to put my anxieties about interdimensional aliens at ease. And the first thing that came up was a speedrun, one that turned Talos 1 into a cardboard diorama done by a middle school kid who sniffs glue in real life, and not just in video games. Walls opened up, weapons were unnecessary distractions, and doors that were supposed to be locked simply weren't. But what caught me off guard the most was that something that had taken me hours and hours had been completed in merely 7 minutes. I've never been one to watch someone play video games. I love watching content about video games, but walkthroughs and Let's Plays weren't something that I actively sought out. Nothing could really replace the experience of having my hands on the controller, but watching speedruns taught me that that's not what it's all about. It's about seeing a game from a new perspective, and most importantly, recognizing all the endless hours that went into a game so that some dude with a Twitch handle that looks like a vanity plate can play through it in mere seconds. I mean, Donkey Kong Country is one of my favorite 2D platformers ever, but watching someone just skip over Minecart Carnage, which took me hours to perfect, is immensely satisfying. It's like when Biff pushes you off the monkey bars one too many times, and your big brother stops by and pushes him off the monkey bars. And he knows where all the secret barrels are, so he can do it as efficiently as possible. Watching someone do this in other, more fast-paced games puts me on the edge of my seat. To me, it's more tense than any other sporting event I've ever watched. Learning that Cuphead speedrunners willingly take damage in order to defeat a boss quicker was not only a huge spectacle, but also taught me how to aggressively seize the moment. Not just in video games, but like in real life as well. Sometimes you gotta take a little damage to be better. These runs in the broad category of any percent glitchless runs like you see with Donkey Kong Country are super cool because these players are often some of the best at their respective game. They're the type of people who color in the lines, and when they do it, it's like a really colorful picture. Like they shaded it properly, utilized a variety of mediums, and they did it in half the time it takes you to scribble outside of the lines with a crayon placed in the middle of your fist like that awkward kid in 3rd grade. In a weird way, these types of runs are book smarts. They know warp pipes, secret barrels, and QuickTime events better than you. And they're the high school equivalent to your valedictorian, who's going to make one hell of a speech at graduation that's going to make you feel real bad for doing blow with your high school gym teacher in the bathroom during your SATs. They say that cheaters never win, but that didn't stop 6-year-old me, who was constantly stuck in last place in Mario Kart, from trying. I spent hours driving over the finish line once, turning around and driving over it again, or driving over it backwards to trick the game into thinking I was first, but that fucker Lakitu can't be fooled. In speedrunning, people do exactly that though. They bounce shells off themselves and skip over entire tracks. Cheating in the purest sense of the word not only makes you better, it also makes you faster. This is where we get my personal favorite types of runs. The balls out, no modifier, any percent runs. They are the educational equivalent to street smarts, or the high school equivalent to that guy behind the dumpster who never goes to class and then sells blow to your high school gym teacher. It takes a different type of player and a different mentality to do a glitch-heavy run like this. How the developer wanted you to finish the game is irrelevant, and intended exploitable skips are on the same level as a weird frame-perfect out-of-bound clips. There's a utilization of every tool at hand, and playing by the rules is just kind of not a thing. I personally prefer to watch these types of runs because it teaches you not only what's essential, but also how the game was made. For those of you who don't know, we here at 1117 Studios went to school for video production, and we learned that behind every movie, TV show, and YouTube video is a variety of cleverly disguised masks, effects, and in-camera tricks to make the small frame look bigger. And before really getting into speedrunning, I thought that was something exclusive to video. But it's all over the place in video games. Things like the opening of Fallout 3 are all within the same load zone, so if you clip through a wall as a kid, you can just leave the vault as an 11-year-old and say the hell with the goat and Butch's mom and get out of there before it gets really bad. And seeing how Mirror's Edge just falls apart with the slightest push isn't a bad thing. It's not a criticism of the developers or the game, it just shows how much work went into ensuring that it works as well as it does. I'm so immersed in the City of Glass or the Capital Wasteland that I stop thinking about how the game was made and instead start loving how the game plays. So much so that I don't realize that the rules I'm following are more like guidelines, and the pits I'm jumping over aren't instant kills, and that goes a long way. Video games are kind of like Disney World, in that its goal is usually to immerse me into a world and make sure I can't see the parking lot. And you know those behind the scene tours they do that show off the bowels of Disney and how it works? Speedrunning is kind of like that for video games, except it isn't hot, I don't have to hear the It's a Small World song, and the tour guide is some 19-year-old kid from Germany who looks like he'd wreck my shit at Fortnite. There's this huge culture of speedrunners who are basically backwards engineering game design and trying to understand how they work, seeing how to do speed boost and get around load zones, and they hunt down solutions to hard problems that even the developers didn't really know were problems. Did Bethesda know that if you cripple yourself just right in Fallout 3, your 70%-ish movement speed that comes from being crippled would stack against your 100% move speed? Absolutely not, but people figured that out. They looked at a video game, saw an obstacle in the way of the way they wanted to play, and tackled it. It's like one part sports, one part art appreciation. You don't see people speedrunning movies or, I don't know, seeing how quickly they can admire a painting, but the interactive nature that's exclusive to gaming makes this a fascinating way to not only appreciate the medium as a whole, but the effort that went into making them. People spent so much time trying to make this game immersive and interesting, and this gang of kids stayed up all night just to wreck the developer's beautiful creation out of love for the creation. We usually don't break art in appreciation of it, unless you count fan edits or slick photoshops, but I mean, I guess there's a little of that in other art, but not to this level. Not enough to come together twice a year for the sole purpose of watching people do it. If Overwatch League is the esports equivalent to football and StarCraft is golf, GDQ is like a track meet. It's long, complicated, and focused on personal stats as much as competition. And any percent is it's the 100-meter dash, and any percent glitchless is the hurdles. And 100% runs are the cross-country runs, I guess. Blindfolded is discus. I don't know why. The point is that regardless of what type of player you are, there's likely a speedrunning category that'll fit your personality and make you go, that's what I like about video games. The spectacle. Or video games contribute to society. I mean, look at this kid play Skyward Sword for 5 hours straight to raise money for charity. It's pretty cool. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I like watching speedrunners do their thing. It's like stand-up comedy. I like making people laugh, but I'm never gonna go down to an open mic and try out my Type 5. I like the craft and can appreciate when it's done well, but my personality doesn't really mesh with that lifestyle. I like the culture, and while GDQ is kind of like Minecon Light and is definitely a cool event that's ran like shit, it's still fun to see a whole bunch of people get really excited to watch someone break KOTOR. So I guess this extremely huge subculture can breathe a sigh of relief as it has received the approval of a single YouTuber with less than 1,000 subs. So tell me down below what kind of speedrunners you like to watch. Or are there any cool speedruns that just look so insane? I personally really like seeing New Vegas. Also, be sure to subscribe. We like talking about video games and want to keep doing it. Thanks for watching.